Hello, everyone. I didn't do an I'm coming on in 15 minutes type of thing. I just completed a video. It's almost 50 minutes long. It's a very important video because it underscores what's going on right now and how our country is dissolving in front of our eyes. In fact, the Supreme Court is breaking it into pieces. You could see that they gave Oklahoma basically back to the Native Americans. So the land that the Native Americans own, a gruesome murder occurred on. And if they don't help work with, well, the police, should we even have police anymore? In Oklahoma. We know it's gone in New York City. They're leaving all over the country. New York City, that 300 cops retired in one day, and they put a stop on it, and they said 30 can retire every day. And the reason why they're doing it is because de Blasio, who does nothing but spray paint sidewalks and encourage people to riot, and otherwise you have to stay in lockdown. You have to stay in prison. There's no entertainment. You can't go out to a baseball game. You can't let off steam. You can't be happy. You can't open up your business, but you can go out in the street and you can vandalize and you can destroy things, especially minority-owned businesses are being destroyed, and they can't even call the cops for help. So how do Black Lives Matter there? How do Black Lives Matter? You see, de Blasio put up a new law, which the police don't even know what the law is. You can't touch the person that you are arresting, only in certain places. But he didn't tell you what those places are. He didn't tell you what the rules of arresting someone is. Remember, I was telling you about abuse, how Marxism and communism, Orwellian world, is like abuse and control because the rules change every day. You see, you go about, you live in a domestic violence situation, and you think you're following the rules, whether you're a partner or your child. You think you're following the rules because the abuser has set the rules. And then all of a sudden, you've just broken the rules because the abuser changed the rules, but they didn't tell you. I told you about this before de Blasio the other day did this to the police. He's changed the rules. And obviously, if you break them, you go to jail. You get punished, right? But he won't tell you what the rules are. I just told you this. This is all about communism, Marxism, this whole BLM thing. It's all the same thing. All these groups are all connected. They're all funded by Soros. That was in the paper the other day. Everybody knows this. It's all run by, first thing Obama did was when obviously Hillary lost the election, he bought a big, expensive house as an office building in Washington, D.C. And he says, I'm not going to leave Washington, D.C. And he hired a whole staff. And I know this because he actually announced it. And you see, because Obama can do whatever he wants to do, he can announce the fact that he's going to break the law, do something that if anybody else did, that would be a dictator. You would throw them in jail. You can't do this. But he announced it, that he's going to get all these groups all over the country and basically give them instructions on how to take down America and how to prevent Trump from getting elected again. It's all the same thing, taking down America, preventing Trump from getting elected all over the country. That's why everything is so coordinated, because it's coordinated right out of Washington and it's getting funded by Soros. And even that I read in the headlines. That I read in just the news because nobody's shocked by it, because half the country is insane. Because half the country is completely ignorant of history. Half the country, they've been taught to hate. There's a song in the South Pacific called Taught to Hate. And that was the truth for a while about being prejudiced, discrimination, racism, that you're taught. You're not born, not born hating somebody because of the color of their skin or the race, but you're taught, you're carefully taught. That's how the song goes. But now it's you're born, if you're born white, you're born evil. It's completely different. You see, that it makes sense if a child is weird. Otherwise, you put a child anywhere, in a group of children, they don't look at, oh, this person is slightly a different shade than I am. They just play. They just play. They're taught to hate. So this country being fed the fact that not only is Trump, a racist, even though he destroyed segregation in Palm Beach, it still existed. It existed when the Kennedys moved there. As I told you about the Kennedys, they moved there, they bought their compound there. And during that time, if you were Black, you couldn't own any property there. So you were sure that when you walked out of your house as a white person, not this white person, but them, or any politician that went down to visit the Kennedys, they wouldn't be seeing any minorities. They were rest assured of that. That sounds like racism to me. And not one Democrat said anything about it. You know how many people visited that compound and knew about this? A lot. And it wasn't until Trump, and it was in 1996, bought Mar-a-Lago that he said, BS on this. I want Black people. I want homosexuals. He was on the bandwagon for the whole homosexual. It was about, in the beginning, it was about equality. Everybody be equal, and they wanted to have equal rights and not get discriminated against, not get fired because they happen to fall in love with the same sex. We used to be equal. It isn't like it is now. You're better if you're whatever, anything but white Christian. You're better, That's not the way it was then. But he was on the bandwagon. He said, well, I'm just going to sue the city for $75 million. He goes, politics. There's a lot of politicians. Basically what they do is just raise money and get elected again. Oh, I couldn't do it in this term. First they promise it, and then they couldn't do it in that term because, the Republicans are blocking me. Remember Michelle Obama? She used to go to the whole commencements at colleges, Black colleges, and she said that they kept blocking my husband. All of a sudden, this woman who went to Princeton, who was the college and many things named after Woodrow Wilson, who showed the movie Birth of a Nation, which is about the birth of the KKK, how they were going to redo America. In Princeton, notice she went to Princeton, got a master's. Read her master's, by the way. Go online and read her master's and grade it. By the way, grade it. Okay. She never said anything about Woodrow Wilson. Well, you know what? He was a Democrat, by the way. He was a Democrat, and he was a KKK member. He was a racist. But she went to Princeton, and she never tried to change Princeton. She never said, take his name off these buildings. No, she just said, she's saying to all these college-educated Black students, assuming that they talk like they keep blocking my husband. Well, how do you know that they just finished their education? How do you know that they talk like that? Why are you assuming that that's the way they talk just because they're Black? That's really funny, because when you were first lady and you got out of Princeton, you never talk like that. So I'm going to assume these people don't. But nevertheless, she was instilling in them that he was still fighting racism, even though he had the pen and the phone. If you don't do what I tell you, he deballed the entire legislature, and they all stood up and they gave him a standing ovation. He said, if you don't do what I want you to do, I've got a pen and a phone, and I'm going to do it anyway. And they all go, this is just wonderful. This is just wonderful. And Trump is just trying to save America. He gave us the best economy in the world, in history. The minorities were working, the highest number of minorities and women were working, even though he's a masochist and he's a racist and he's a homophobe, all that stuff, working more than any in history. And another thing he did, Robert Johnson, the guy who started BET, he's very smart. They asked him, and he happens to be African American, BET, you know. They said, oh, he's a racist. No, he's not a racist. I knew him. No. He's really trying to help. No. In fact, he did something that was really good. This hits minorities harder than it does other populations for some reason. I'm sure it hits because we do forget there's a great, big, poor population of white people in this country. We forget that there are, but there are. But it happens that minorities, blacks and other minorities, change jobs a lot. The jobs let them go for some reason. Whatever the project ends, the company goes out of business. And while they're with that company, they give money to, they put money into their retirement, and it's supposed to build for thousands and thousands. So when they retire, they're going to have a really nice nest egg. But it's easier for the companies just to take the money out and just give it back to them. And then they don't have any interest. They don't have anything accumulated. And then when they retire, they don't have anything. Well, Robert Johnson said this is what Trump did. He made it so, even though they changed jobs, that money stays in the account and accumulates interest. So when they retire, they'll be wealthy. He has given them billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. I think it was like $685 billion is what's going to be given back to them that would have been taken out if the system continued the way it was by just taking the money out and giving it back to them. That's incredible. That's incredible. So this guy, you know what? Let's say behind the scenes he was a racist, but all his life, he just works to make minorities wealthy and happy and prosperous and have jobs. And but somehow he never speaks it and nobody knows about it. But he does all good for all these people that are minorities, including women. I mean, even if that is so, which there's zero evidence for, and we know that, I've said it a million times, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, they went up to him and they asked him, could you find us a building for the Rainbow Coalition? Because we want to have the Rainbow Coalition is going to be a party for diversity, for minorities, all that stuff. And so he did, okay? And they invited him to this ceremony. And they gave him an award for hiring more blacks and minorities and women. And not only hiring them, but advancing them, taking them from really right from the street. Because Trump always says, I like people with street smarts better than people who go to school, they come out of school and they're just talking nonsense. They don't have street smarts unless you've got common sense and street smarts. It doesn't matter what you learn, you can't apply it. And that's very smart. And there's a lot of minorities, there's a lot of people who don't go to school at all, yet they have street smarts. And he goes, those are the people I like to hire. So he hires them and he advances them upwards, raises their pay. And they gave him an award for this because he did it for more minorities and women than any other business person in history. And he stood up and he said that not only he said, I found your building. I found it at a good price. And I'm giving it to you. So they don't even have to pay rent on it. So tell me this is the racist that we have to get rid of. That we voted in this racist that's only going to work for white people. You know, God, I hope they work for the poor white people. There's a lot of poor white people out there, really poor white people. And we forget about this. But see, we want a president that's going to work for all of us. And it seems that's what he did. And the last time I heard, I was interviewed on Howie Carr. And he's a good friend of Howie Carr's. Howie Carr is a down-to-earth, he's funny, he's down-to-earth. Yet at the same time, he was an investigative reporter. He's the one who found out all this stuff on Whitey Bulger. And Whitey Bulger's goons, Whitey Bulger's a gangster. And his goons, he told them to go and kill Howie Carr because he found out all this stuff about Whitey, to put Whitey in prison. And so they went to the wrong driveway. That's how stupid these goons were. But anyway, these are really dangerous people because Howie has written many books on Whitey and his gang. One is called Hitman. And he's got all these pictures of these bodies riddled with bullets, and they pull the teeth out when they bury them. It's just awful. But he's a real we don't have reporters like that. We don't have people that actually work and go undercover. We have people that are pretty, that just, here's what you read, and then they read it for the camera. These are the people you're supposed to hate. And these are the people, no matter what they do, you make an excuse for them. You love them. Like Joe Biden. My history, with the history that I've had, I'm not going to go into. When I used to watch Joe Biden get near a little girl and speak to her through her hair, it would send these willies down my body. I can't tell you how dirty and awful it made me feel. How perverted this guy is, and how he, when he was vice president and there was female Secret Service agents, he would take all his clothes off and jump into the water and swim past them naked. I mean, this is beyond what Hunter Biden did and the $1.5 billion he got from China, and how they're in the pocket of China. That's great. See, this is all about China. This is all about China and the 2030 conference by the UN. That says, and you know about China, that China gives each one of its citizens, if you're a good little commie, you get a certain amount of points. And if you don't get the points, you can't travel, you can't leave your home, you can't get a job, you can't get advanced in your job. So basically, they kill you. A point system will end up killing you, by the way. And you don't get medical help either, by the way. That's why they would take, you saw these people in all these body bags, they would throw them into rooms and then they would solder it shut until they died because they didn't have enough points as a commie. And if you're a bad commie, you get into, well, whatever, if you're alive, this execution van, and the good commie is waiting at the hospital and for a new organ. It's almost like what Planned Parenthood is doing now, except they take the fully formed babies, which they say aren't viable, but not viable means that they are told the mother doesn't want them to live. That means not viable. And they take the whole the baby whole, fresh, unfrozen, to these labs, and they're combining it with mice. Okay. And if you think that I'm making this up, look on Judicial Watch. Go to the Judicial Watch website and watch some of Tom Fitton's videos on this. In fact, I think it was no more than 5 days ago, I think he was talking about this. But anyway, the execution vans. So they take the organ out to put into the good commie, and so it's nice and fresh, they take while you're still alive. So the UN said they want to run the world the way China runs the world. That's why this whole China thing is going on. And they're getting us used to lockdown and a totalitarian system. They're getting us used to this. And we're compliant. We've been very nice, except, you see, a lot of people are committing suicide now. And the fact that they're saying that there's a mutation and it's more contagious. Well, we know the reason why it's more contagious. Houston. Okay, let's see. It's Houston. It's gone up. Let's see what's happened recently in Houston. Oh, look at that. There were 3 big riots, but oh no, they said they were mostly peaceful. They're mostly peaceful. You know, when they say mostly peaceful riots, it doesn't really turn out to be a peaceful riot. So that's what you can do. That's what de Blasio tells you can do. As long as you go out and riot and you destroy, and that's the only outlet you have. Let's say you're a good person. Say you're a good person and you really do want to help minorities or people that are in need of help. Let's say even if it's a white person that having a hard day and they're crying, they're maybe feeling a little suicidal, and you want to help them. The only thing that they allow that's good for you to leave the house for is if you riot, you loot, and you burn. And they're seeing Howie Carr mentioned it. Okay, this guy totally trusts. He was talking to the president the other day. I was saying she was talking to the president the other day. And the president, after he got off the phone with the president, he said the president sounds like he's punch drunk, meaning that he's getting hit from all sides. He can't believe it's what's happening to him. They're trying to destroy him from all sides. And he doesn't sound the same anymore. He's not the same. And for Howie to say that is something that we have to take note of. I mean, this man what he has put up with, none of us could put up with, or some of us can. Some of us could, but it's a very rare person that can. And he's as old as he is. It's not just like, okay, he's a young person and he's putting up with it because he's strong. He's as old as he is as he's putting up with this. And now he sounds punch drunk because I think we're getting to a point where it might be too much because it's everything. It's Gorsuch. Gorsuch, he's from the deep state. What do you think Gorsuch went right through? They remember how they voted for him. There was no problem. There was no abortion thing. Oh, he's going to take abortion away. Like with Kavanaugh and the Beach Friends and Crazy Blazing and all that. They just passed him through. And then he gives Oklahoma back, and now there's no jurisdiction. If somebody commits a crime, we have no jurisdiction anymore. And these people who own land there, where they're going to go? And Oklahoma went for Trump. That was one of Trump's states. So basically, he took Trump's state away. And it's like virtue signaling. Oh, look what I did. It's like what Nixon did. Of course, nobody mentions that Nixon did this. He's the first one that did this. That he went to every Native American tribe and said, I can't give you all your land back, which means exactly what Gorsuch should have said, because some of this land is owned by people. I can't give you all your land back, but tell me where your land is and I'll give you as much land back as possible. So they're virtue signaling before the election. Oh, how good you are. You're giving it back to the Native Americans. That's great. Right before the election? Right before the election. You can't wait till after the election. Okay, so he's stabbed in the back by Gorsuch. And now, though, even though we didn't demand anything from Obama, what the hell did he get as a grade? Can you tell me one grade that he got? Can you tell me one grade? We're not allowed to ask any grade. Oh, but he was the smartest. All we know, he's the smartest. And he became editor of the Harvard Law Review without writing a damn thing. He's supposed to write something to be the editor. Okay. They gave him that job. I wonder why. And his bio on that, and you can check this out. He wrote on his bio, as is the bio of the editor of the Harvard Law Review, that he was born in Kenya, by the way. And then his book, which everyone is sure now was written by Bill Ayers. Because Bill Ayers, when he writes, he uses references to the ocean and sailing. And there's these references all the way through it. And the press release, when you write a book, there's a very short paragraph, a press release you send out about the book to all the bookstores. On it, and you're supposed to, maybe he doesn't proofread. Maybe he has people writing things for him and he just doesn't proofread anything, which means, can he read? Or when he was supposed to read RESPECT off of Totus, when he was honoring Aretha Franklin, and everybody and their brother since they were born has heard the song Respect over and over again, and it was misspelled on Totus, so RPSCT. He totally misspelled it. Instead of knowing, we all remember when we heard her sing RPSCT. I mean, he's supposed to be so smart. He should just know how to spell respect without even needing to read what's going on. But he read it's like he wasn't even born in this country. But anyway, his press release said that he was born in Kenya. Okay. Twice. And then Michelle Obama, it's on YouTube, by the way. There's a speech she got up and said, "Oh, we visited Kenya, the birthplace of my husband." Okay. And then, of course, we remember the whole thing when he got elected, before he got elected, that his grandmother in Kenya said that she was there for the birth in Kenya. And my sisters are screaming, "They made a mistake. She made a mistake. How could you make a mistake? How? If you're in Kenya and you're present for a birth, I don't see how you, unless she totally was, how many mistakes can you make? How many mistakes, when it comes to him, it's just a mistake. It's just, what do you think Trump did the birther movement they hate him for? He didn't even do it. It was Sidney Blumenthal that found all this stuff out, who worked for Hillary Clinton, and she was trying to take Obama down. She even put out a picture of him in Muslim African garb to make him look like he's not an American. She's the one who did this, but she's not blamed for it. And Trump, remember that day, when the whole birther thing started? Trump comes out, and I think Obama's getting off the plane, and he said, "You are not born in this country. I've checked this out. You're not born." And when he did that, it's because things started to pile up. Things that were anti-American were piling up. Things that were, he was breaking this country, and we saw it. It was like a tin pot dictator turning this country into a banana republic. With his, we're going to have a civilian security force that is just as strong, just as well funded, just as trained as the U.S. military. That's your brown shirts. That's your Khmer Rouge. That's your Red Army. There you go. So we saw this. And then when Trump came out that day and he announced that, "I know that you weren't." I said, "Oh my God, he found that out." Oh, and I thought to myself, he's going to save us. This is an American. I don't know if any of you out there remember that. I said, this is an American. He cares about America, and he's going to save America. And he sees what this guy, I mean, he was breaking lots of things. He's destroying the military. My God, he made the head of the Air Force, he was supposed to fly planes. A woman who'd never flown a plane. She'd only sat in planes. It's kind of like, who's got the most frequent flyer miles? Okay, you are now the Secretary of the Air Force because you've got the most, it doesn't matter. You've got the most frequent flyer miles. I didn't even think she had the most frequent flyer miles. But then if you went into the Army, one of the things to training was like emotional training. So they understood what it was like for women who had a baby. So they had to put on this baby bump and heavy baby bump and high-heeled shoes and walk around like that. Like women who are pregnant wear high-heeled shoes, first of all. But that's going to make them more, no, you don't See, the army is not supposed to be emotionally sensitive. You're not supposed to fill them with estrogen. That's for women who are pregnant or having their period. The military has a completely different function. You want them to go in and be strong and to be courageous and to be, even if they're a woman, that you have to put those emotions aside. To do your duty, to save children out of burning buildings, just like a firefighter. You have to put things aside. You don't break them. And that's what he was doing. And then when Trump came out, I'm going, oh my God, thank God. Oh, thank God, my God. And I said, why doesn't he run for president? Oh my God, he's got to run for president. And of course, 8 years later, he does. And I was like, this is an American. And I was thinking to myself, who out there, who would be strong? Who would love America? Who would have the strength of a general and love America to put it back together again after Obama keeps breaking it? I mean, we had Bush, which was, but Obama just broke it. As it turned out, the Bushes were good friends with the Obamas, and they were good friends with the Clintons. Except the problem is, we thought, you see, yeah, he invited Bill and Hillary to his wedding, but he did it because she was senator, and you have to kind of like grease the pocket. If you build a building, if you want to build a building in somebody's city, politicians have to grease the palms. And otherwise, they've got the stack of building permits, and yours is on the bottom. You donate to the campaign, you schmooze a little bit, all of a sudden your building permit is on top, and you get your building built. Otherwise, nothing gets done. That's the way it works, and that's the way he worked it. That's why they were so shocked that he ran against her. And a lot of people who were, including my sister, who voted for Hillary, said, they're good friends. He's just doing, they first thought he was just doing it to get people to just kind of like get people to vote for him instead of like a third party. And then he was going to do something awful and lose all the people who were on his side. They were going to go to her side. They thought this was a master plan. As it turned out, he really meant that he wanted to be president. And the funny thing is I was talking to this, oh God, this climate change person who doesn't know that carbon dioxide is a nutrient. Go into any botany manual, scientific manual, carbon dioxide is a nutrient. I've been saying this forever. Sting, this big thing in the 80s was got to replant the rainforest because it's the oxygen. It's responsible for all our oxygen. And I'm going, why don't they just replant the rainforest? Where's Sting? Why doesn't you just replant the rainforest? I've been saying this for years, and all you have to do is and you can replant the desert, and you can bring the clouds over to if you start to replant the desert, you actually draw rain clouds into the desert, and then you change everything over back to vegetative land instead of a desert. But anyway, God, I don't even know. That people have so much hate. They have so much hate for Trump. They have so much hate for people who don't believe in this climate stuff, this man-made climate. But you can't tell me, as a person who learned how to plant when I was a child from my grandfather and my mother, the first thing they taught me is that you breathe out carbon dioxide, and that's a nutrient for the plant. The plant breathes it in. If you don't breathe out the carbon dioxide, if they don't have carbon dioxide, then the plants can't live. And if the plants don't live, then we don't have oxygen, because they breathe in carbon dioxide and they breathe out oxygen. And that alone, all you have to do is just, and if you think there's too much, but actually the highest greenhouse gas is water. But it's funny, you have to type into, when you type in like what is the highest greenhouse gas, it will say carbon dioxide is like 76%, which is a lie, because if it was, we'd be dead. There wouldn't be enough oxygen, we'd be dead. I mean, Michael Phelps and his 26 gold medals, anybody who does sport, anybody who has to breathe, we'd all be dead. We'd all be dead. That's ridiculous. But you have to type in what percentage of a greenhouse gas is water. And then you'll see 86%. It's mostly water. And CO2 is 9 to 26%. It's, in fact, we need a certain amount of it, because if that's actually any lower than that, then the plants can't breathe. If the plants can't breathe in anything, we have nothing to eat, and we have no oxygen. So we actually, the both of us, it's what do you call it? Symbiotic. It's a give and take. We can't survive if they don't survive. If there's no animal life, there is no plant life. That's the way it goes. But people are so full of hate. They're so full of anger, and they're so full of hate that they can't see the truth. They can't see through that violence is never the answer. It never was the answer, never will be the answer. Especially if your overlords are paying you, which they are being paid, your overlords are paying you to go out there to beat people up, to kill people, to loot, to destroy, to tear everything down, and to burn, and to intimidate. These are your overlords. Okay, after you've got your way and you've destroyed everything and everything looks like hell, these are your overlords, right? These are the people that are going to rule over you. The kind of people who told you to go out, beat people up, intimidate, scream at them, kill them, loot poor people, burn their homes down, burn their businesses down. These are the people that are going to rule over you. How do you think, when you go up and you've done something against the commie dictator, that the commie dictator decides, I've changed the rule, but I didn't tell you, just like de Blasio. Didn't change the rules. Now all the cops are retiring. Didn't tell you. Do you think, are you that stupid that you think, after you've torn the system down, that, we have unalienable rights in this country. Our rights are given to us by our Creator. You have to read me my rights. I deserve representation. This isn't fair. No, wait, it's not America anymore. Guess what? You destroyed it. And do you think that these dictators, these people that paid you to destroy this country, to be even minorities, the Black Lives Matter, yet they don't, destroy their businesses, destroy their homes, destroy them, because they're not going out there and destroying things like you are. They're not full of hate like you are. Do you think that they're going to rule you fairly and you're going to live in peace? Do you think that anything you own is going to be yours for any length of time? Marxism, nobody owns anything. The government owns everything. The government even owns your home. So whenever they want to throw you out of your home, they can. Whenever they want to take you up to Siberia and chain you to a hole in the middle of the floor in the freezing cold and give you a blanket that's the size of a Kleenex and you freeze to death, you honestly think that this world is going to be fair and you're actually doing something for the minorities when you're beating up and destroying the minorities, their property, because they're for America. And you pull down Frederick Douglass, who was a freed slave, and worked with Abraham Lincoln to abolish slavery. You think that these people are going to make a world that you want to live in? I don't think so. I don't think so. So if you're a person who is peaceful and you want to do good from your heart, you want to live like Jesus said and let one hand not know what the other is doing, just go out. Yeah, you want to help the minorities, and you want to help poor anybody. It doesn't matter what color skin they are, what ethnicity they are. And you want to give with your heart, and and your way is kindness and love. It's not destruction. And then they tell you the only way you can help the minority, you're not helping the minorities unless you burn and loot and destroy, beat people up and kill them. That's the only way to help a minority. What do you do? What do you do? Do you turn the gun on yourself because you can't live in this world? Well, there's somebody tonight that did a few hours ago. Somebody actually very famous. I did a video on it. It was Elvis's only grandson. Did it. He's 27 years old. And his father sang in the ghetto. Except BLM doesn't care about the people dying in the ghetto because they're dying from the hands of other Black people. So it doesn't count. So it doesn't count. So even though he couldn't reach the heights of his grandfather, he also is told that he's white privilege. He also was told that his father was a racist and he stole Black music. And there's nothing he could do for the minorities unless he donned violence. He donned knives and blew things up and burned things down. He couldn't do acts of kindness, so he turned the gun on himself, and he ends up dying like the young man does at the end of the song in the ghetto. Isn't that sad? That's sad. So I came on. I'm going to read some of the things that you've written. I'm happy that you've written some things here. I came on and I did a video before this, and it goes into many things extensively. To tell you, because I was thinking about this earlier today, that it doesn't matter where you are in this life. I've had a horrible life. You may have had a really horrible life too. And getting through the day could be very, very difficult. Like some people have anxiety disorders. Some people are depressed all the time. And they're more depressed now. People are committing suicide because there's no place to go. You know, we're obeying the laws, yet if you want to go out and riot on behalf of Black Lives Matter, that's legal. It's an absolute insanity. So it's the thinking to think like that, to survive in this world as it is absolutely crazy. So one side is going to lose and one side is going to win. And everybody knows it. And nobody, tomorrow, what's going to happen tomorrow? We keep looking at the news and hoping that it's going to get better. That tomorrow is going to be, we're going to hear one good thing, that our leaders are actually working on behalf of America. They're working on behalf of protecting us. The police are also protected so they can protect us. They know what they're doing and they're not allowed to do certain things, but they know what to do so they can protect us from people who are going to hurt us, right? So we're at this point where there's a famous saying by Yoda: do not try, do. You might not be, I need to take such and such, or I need to drink some alcohol, or I need to go see my therapist. We're at a point where we have to just be peaceful and resolute and be strong and just be there. And know that, yes, we're at a point where everything could go wrong. We don't know what's going to happen. Everything could go wrong. There could be no future for this nation. Or things could go right. Everything could be okay. So we're at that point, completely bad, or everything will start to improve. And the only way that this country is going to survive, the only way things are going to, if it's got a chance, a snowball's chance in hell, is if we are whole, if we keep our minds clear. We don't destroy yourself with substances. Don't be afraid. What is there to fear? We already are looking doom in the face. Doom is right here. It could be complete. It's possible. Or if we remain strong and peaceful and resolute, we can save this country. We not only will save ourselves, but our eyes will be open. We'll watch at the polls. They won't be putting that through hundreds of ballots for Biden, pumping up the count like they did for Hillary. They won't be doing that. They won't be finding, oh, look at this box of ballots found in the trunk of this car. Oh, wow, we have to count. Wait a second, this is bogus. We have to work at the polls. We have to keep our eyes open. We have to meditate. We have to be one with God. God is not a God of confusion. God is a God of peace. If you are confused or you're scared, then you're walking in the wrong direction. Just turn around. Walk towards God. We have to remain strong. Even if we're not ready for it, even if we've been scared our whole lives, this is the moment. It's now or never. It's this Elvis song. It's now or never. It's do or not do. There is no try. Just do it. Just be it. I believe, and I think you believe, most people in this country want a peaceful country. They don't want riots in the streets. They don't want rapes and murders and crime going on. Most people don't want that. There's just a certain amount of people who do, that are ignorant, and that they have no idea that they're going to be going into their own deaths is what's going to happen. That's what happens, Nazis to the brown shirts. Mao did it to his Red Army. Stalin did it to the Red Guard. They always destroy those crazy ones in the streets. We have to be, because I think there are more of us. Don't you think? There's more of us than them. Because when things were peaceful and the law was doing its job, people were walking the streets, people were going around hitting each other or stealing from each other's all of a sudden. I mean, you could walk down the street and you had some peace. You could go to the store and there was nothing to worry about. Most people are not like that. Most of us want peace. And we have to be rest assured that most of us are like that. And we have to all keep our heads, because I believe we're in the majority. We're in the majority. And with that, we have to control the polls. We have to work at the polls. We have to work at this election. We have to teach people the truth. We have to teach people real history, those that don't know it. But I think we're going to find there are more people. They're going to pull out every trick in the book to cheat, to get this election done, to lie about him. It's all his fault. So look what they did with this COVID. Oh, no, if you don't do what we say, millions of people are going to die. And You're never going to get elected. You have to go along with us. It was brilliant. It was the only thing he couldn't say, yeah, I know about the economy. I know how to run a country, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not an even if he was a doctor, I'm not an epidemiologist. That's how they got him. This isn't his fault at all. He really tried to do the right thing. And it was the governors and the mayors that put us all on lockdown and shut everything down. He thought it was just to be a very quick temporary thing. But there's more of us than there are of them. And I promise I'll keep my head. And sometimes I cry and this and that. And I just had my period. So that's over with. It ended yesterday, but today I'm just trying to get my energy back. I will promise I will come on, do live stream more often, try to give you a pep talk, remind you to stay strong, and keep in a meditative mood. Stick with God. God is not a God of chaos or confusion. That's the other guy. The other guy is a guy of chaos and confusion, not God. So there's no reason to be upset. There's only reason to be at peace. We are in the majority, and we just have to stay strong and keep our heads. That's all we have to do. So I'll read. Okay, Matt Smith. Hi, Felina. You're spot on describing President Wilson's blatant racism. Let's see. Where's that little thing? Here we go. Blatant racism. But I'll bet the protesters will leave his statue alone. Well, actually, at Princeton, they actually have closed the Woodrow Wilson School of Nonsense. I think they have closed it, but they haven't taken any of the Grand Exalted Cyclops, Robert KKK Byrd. They haven't taken any of his stuff. He's got statues and bridges all over West Virginia. And of course, he's got a brown statue in the Capitol Rotunda, which Obama put up with pride in 2013 and eulogized. It is so funny. It's like Black Lives Matter people. He must have been born again or something. They'll make up some. No, he never did. No. Here's a picture of him. And here's a picture of Ralph Northam. Which one do you think he is? I think he's both. I think we know he did Michael Jackson, which I don't understand. Why would you put black shoe polish on your face if you're going to do Michael Jackson? Give me a break. But it's like a Northam. Oh, we're going to keep the baby comfortable. Yeah, and the doctor and the mother's going to go over there and have a little chit chat. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's KKK right there. And FDR. Does anybody out there remember who he put the first open KKK member on the Supreme Court? FDR was a racist. Of course, he was a Democrat. Anybody out there, quick, what was his name? I'll give you 5 seconds. First open member of the KKK, open member on the Supreme Court by FDR. Hugo Black. His name was Hugo Black, so you can tell that to people. And to get the New Deal passed, because he made the Depression last as long as it possibly could, because he loved fascism. He sent a group of guys over to Mussolini's Italy called the Brain Trust so they can learn all about fascism and implement it here. That's why he's the one who instilled the social security system. He started socialism here. Okay. So he was, what he did was the Depression didn't have to last. How great of a president could you possibly be? He made the Depression go on so long that it made people disillusioned with capitalism. And he won. He said, look, the government will give you the job. So his idea was the first New Deal. Now we have got the Green New Deal, but the first New Deal. Well, he wanted the Dixiecrats, you know, the KKK, the segregationalists, Jim Crow people, to sign on to the New Deal. And they said, we'll sign on to the New Deal. Yeah. But you have to make sure that lynching isn't outlawed in the South. So you see the blood on this man's hands, on FDR's hands? That's how bad he was. So like 4,669 people were lynched in the South by the KKK, the terrorist arm of the Democrat Party, who also 1/3 of that number were white Republicans. And nobody thinks about this. White Republicans were 1/3 of that were lynched. Not that there were better, well, you know what, good God, their names are lost to history. Their lives, their deaths are lost to history because they were white Republicans. But it was FDR. He's responsible. Every single one that was lynched, the blood is on his hands. So he could get the New Deal passed. And what happened? All the black people, that's when the black people moved over reluctantly from the Republican Party, the party of abolition, to the Democrat Party, because he gave them jobs. But he gave them jobs, little did they realize, that was paid in blood. That was evil. That's how evil the Democrats are. They still are. Hi, Mark Dietz. Hi there, Felina. I mean, you said hi, Felina. I'm tired. Hi, Mark. How you doing? Thomas Colony. Hi, Felina. Awesome as always. Thank you so much. And a big green heart and I could use a 4-week clover. So Gomer Kyle. Hi there, Gomer Kyle. Hey, Felina. Took the Winfrey off my name. Oh, okay. Kyle Winfrey, that's right. Okay. Okay, Gomer. Hi, Amy Joyce. How you doing? Listening while I work. Dodd. Oh, God. I hope I'm saying everything to your pleasure. Let's say U.S. Indiana woman was shot, killed, argument, Black Lives Matter supporters. What, you're saying that Black Lives Matter supporters shot and killed a woman in... it's hard to believe they're such a peaceful bunch. How about that? She gave a link, and if any of you want to check that link out, okay, what else did you write here? Such a big country can't get together and consolidate into a group like in France. Trying to organize some kind of rally will be public and shut down or subverted immediately. Well, you know what? We don't have to gather together. We don't have to gather together in like groups. We can, first of all, gather yourself together. Make sure this is all intact. That's the first thing. Each one of you is your own leader. You're your own general. You are connected to God. As long as you stay in your right mind, as long as you stay in peace, don't do this. Don't get yourself upset, because we're in the majority and we can win. The thing is, we're trying to win for them too. They don't know what they're doing. They're building their own prison with everything that they dismantle. Each brick that they dismantle, they're actually building their own prison. They're burning down their own home. They're burning down their own selves. We're actually trying to help them too. So it's okay. You're learning right now. We're communicating right now. You're communicating on chat right now. Okay, that's one thing that we can do. And keep getting the truth out there. Keep your eyes open. And like I say, work at the polls. Make sure you keep your eyes open that nobody's doing any shenanigans. Keep everything on the up and up, and stay connected to God. Just stay connected. and we will win. I mean, believe me, if I told you, maybe one day, maybe I should tell you one day what I've been through in my life, so you realize that right now I should be a basket case. I should have committed suicide. I should be banging my head against the wall. It just, oh, I can't take the, you know what? Maybe because I've been through so much hell, and I've been beaten up so many times, and I've been screamed at and demeaned and belittled and so many times, and everything taken away from me. It's just like so many, you name it. Maybe that's why I'm less scared. Maybe that's why I know how to put my head back together. And it's like this. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's for what I've been through. That tried to help. No acknowledgement for them or the Union soldiers. Gomer Kyle, thumbs up. Amy Joyce, love the new name, Gomer. BLM has killed more black folks than cops would have in 2 years. That's right. That's right. And the fact that they're letting these deaths go on in Chicago, that's 50 years ago, actually 51 years ago, Elvis sang about it in Chicago. He cared, but you see, they don't care. And as far as they're concerned, what did Elvis do? He supported thousands of black people, and he opened doors. He opened doors that they weren't able to get through, and they wouldn't have gotten through. As far as he's concerned, he said to Fats Domino, if I had my say, you would be the king of rock and roll. And also one of the things he did do, which they're tearing apart. They say that there was an article in 1996 written and said that Elvis is really, if it wasn't for Elvis, Martin Luther King couldn't have done what he did. Let me explain. Because you had to get all the young people, all the white young people, to feel just as angry and just as upset and want to end the segregation, because it was just occurring in the South. It wasn't occurring in the North. Remember, so half the country didn't even know this was even happening, right? And you needed to mobilize all of them and get them really upset. So what happened was Elvis came out in 1954, believe it or not. He made his first record. Actually, his first record was in 1953, My Happiness for His Mother. 1954, he wrote, he sang That's All Right, Mama. That was his first hit. But what happened was things were segregated in the South back then. And so his music appealed to white teenagers as well as black teenagers. And he did a great thing by singing a lot of this black music, the blues. He didn't really steal it. He sang it. And what happened was all these people in the 60s, all these people who became musicians, what they did was they said, who sang this music? They started to get interested in blues and jazz and rhythm and blues. And they started going back and finding this music for themselves and finding who sang this music. So there was an appreciation of African American music that the white community didn't have, because none of the white disc jockeys played black music. And the black station didn't play white music. But both white and black teenagers loved Elvis. And then they got together and then they were segregated. And it wasn't it was by law. And then they got really angry. The teenagers got so angry. They said, that's it, break down these barriers. We just want to come here and enjoy Elvis. We both love Elvis. We just want to have fun. We just want to enjoy ourselves. Enough of this. So they started getting on the bandwagon of civil rights to tear everything down. So as much as they call him a racist or stealing black music, he actually didn't. Even Little Richard said, first I hated him for singing Tutti Frutti, and then I realized all of a sudden I got more famous. And he opened up doors that James Brown didn't walk through until after Elvis opened the door. Elvis came actually before these people, believe it or not. And nobody was doing any sexual moves. I mean, he shot sexuality into rock, which nobody was doing. Nobody was doing that, by the way. But anyway, okay, so Amy Joy is high UL, see, undocumented libertarian too. Hi, Amy Joyce, Mark Dietz. Conservatives are individuals, liberals are a collective. That's why we lose. That's right. That's right. Because conservatives or Republicans represent the minority. Democrats means democracy, but it's majority rule. So whatever if the majority is crazy and they're burning down the buildings and creating all the crime and they don't want the police anymore, well, the majority doesn't want the police. So they'll go and they'll vote out the police. That's what the majority want. If the majority wants slavery, want all the white people enslaved, well, you're going to get slavery. That's why conservative Republicans are for minorities. Make sure that the minorities are represented. That's why if you are for diversity and for minorities, you really should be a Republican, but people really don't realize that. That's why democracy lends itself to communism. It's because it's what the majority wants. And so the majority votes themselves in one-party rule. That's how easy it is to do. And then that's it. That's it. Your rights are taken away. So let's see. Okay. You okay, Amy? Amy P. Scomer Kyle. Elvis' grandson, Don. It came out today, but I think he died last weekend. He died, well, I read that he died. It said he died a few hours ago. Maybe he did die last weekend, but I read that he died a few hours ago. But anyway, never would think Elvis was so humble by looking at him perform in Las Vegas, but you can see he's got a good sense of humor and passionate. That's true. Let's see, undocumented libertarian, dude. That's the trick we have to figure out, Mark Dietz. The leftists are a boring. I think I'm starting to see double because it's so BORG collective. We are individuals and need to present the front. But because we are individuals, it's like herding cats. Oh my God, that's true. That's impossible. Elvis also went to Black churches, that's right, and was really given a hard time by white folks. That's right. They called him that name, that word. They said that he was bringing all their teenagers, their young folk down to the level of the blank. Yeah, he sang, his family belonged to several different churches because they went to church every single night. They went to tent revival meetings and he would sing for hours and hours. And they said when they didn't see his parents, Elvis would show up. Elvis would show up every single. He was insanely religious. He just loved God. And one of the churches they belonged to was East Trigg Baptist Church by the Reverend Howard Brewster. And he sang in a Black gospel choir in the segregated South. If he was a racist, he wouldn't do it. He also shopped at used Black clothing stores. And so he would wear clothes that were like really stood out, like pinks and purples. And people say, who is this guy wearing these colors? But no racist would wear used clothing that a Black man wore. No racist would do that. But he lived in shake rag. He lived in they said it was called the colored side of town because he was not considered white. So let's see. Okay, Gomer Kyle. Elvis also, oh yeah, we read that. Additionally, our representatives in Congress speak a lot but do nothing. Absolutely right. Can you imagine what I would do when I'd be in Congress? Remember Nancy's was an 8 or 9 hour speech? Can you see me? You see me up there? Oh, I would tell everyone off, and it would be longer than 8 or 9 hours, let me tell you that. I really should. I should run for Congress. Let's see. Let's see. Borgs for Star Treks. Amy Joyce. It's horrible the extent of flaming the left will do. They are definitely playing by different rules. That's true. For radicals, a cult. That's right, rules for radicals. Saul Alinsky, absolutely. We played Elvis gospel for my mom in 94. She loved Elvis. Yeah, my mother did too. I know my sister would yell at me for her birthday party. Because we knew she was dying, and so we got everybody together at this restaurant, and I said, "Ma, you got to come in. They're going to be playing some Elvis music tonight." She goes, "Oh, we should have gotten here earlier. Oh no, this is awful. This is awful." My mother was a doom. Everything was doom. This is awful. Oh, we should have. Don't worry, Ma. Don't worry, Ma. And my sister was so pissed. She said, "Well, if you play it, it should just only Christmas music. You're not." She didn't want me to play Elvis at all whatsoever. I mean, these are like people all my mother's age. I mean, so it's like they're going to enjoy this. And so I put the music on, and then he started singing gospel music. And then in front of everyone, she starts yelling at me, "I told you." And this is the one with the PhD. Just Christmas music. And then she's screaming at me. And then my mother sits there and she starts to cry. And she goes, "It was so good." And then my sister goes, "All right, well, you have this one." She's the Hillary supporter. That's how crazy she is. It's like everybody here loves Elvis. You're the only one with a problem here. It's like, oh my God. That made my mother my mother died. She died of a rare form of leukemia, and she wanted Elvis gospel music at her funeral, especially Mama Like the Roses, and my sister wouldn't allow it. I could never say. She knew what my mother would have wanted, but she wouldn't allow it. It was just crappy music from the church. It was awful. Let's see what we got here. Also, that's right. Elvis also was personally armed in front of President Nixon. That's right. Well, presenting, I think, a Colt 45 in the Oval. That's true. Elvis wanted to give. He just decided he wanted to go see President Nixon, and this is a famous story. Elvis meets Nixon, and Elvis brought all his guns with him, and he was going to get on the plane. And you're not supposed to get on the plane with guns. And they said he laid him out, and then the guys say, "All right, Mr. Presley, you can take your guns with you." So he had all these. Can you imagine if he was on one of those 9/11 flights? That would have been that. Boom, boom, boom. Oh my God, he would have saved the day. Oh my God, Elvis. Anyway, what he did was before he went on that plane, he had a gun from D-Day that Patton used. And he had it framed. It was the nicest thing he owned. He figured he had so much respect for the president of the United States. Entertainers don't do that today unless you're Obama, right? But he wanted to give him the nicest thing he owned. And he thought the president would really like this. So he gave him the nicest thing that he owned. And the first they said, "Mr. President," Elvis arrived in a purple cape, purple velvet outfit with a purple velvet cape. Mr. Presley's here to see you. Who's Mr. Presley? Well, he's a singer. He's very famous with the young people. I guess I'll see him. So Elvis came in, And he honored him with he didn't know, and Nixon had no idea what to say. He honored him with the gun and all that stuff. And then he said, would you like some gifts? Because if you go to the Oval Office, they always give you gifts. And he opened up the bottom drawer. And the guy who was telling the story, who was there, who wrote the book, Elvis Meets the President, there's the bottom drawer. Nixon opens up the bottom drawer, and there's two sides of that drawer with two sides of gifts. And he goes, could the men have gifts? He was going to give gifts to the men. He says, oh, could you also give gifts to their wives and sweethearts? He calls them their sweethearts, their girlfriends. He goes, oh, okay. And then when he opens the drawer, there's two sides. One side was the cheaper gifts, and they were all wrapped up. You couldn't tell which one was which. And the other side was the gifts that were all made out of gold. Elvis went to the side of he grabbed the side that was all made out of gold. He said he's the king. For some reason, he could tell which side the gold was on. And he thought it was so funny because there's no way you could tell. But that was so cute. Anyway, that's a good story. It's the most requested photograph in our national archives, and I've never requested it, and I should. Is Elvis Meets the President. Let's see. Murals of Floyd, the criminal that put gun to a woman. I heard about that. He did that in 2009 and robbed the family. Don't celebrate him for being murdered. Our forefathers, we don't celebrate their sins. It's the great contributions they made. That's true. But Floyd did, he in Dallas, he had a come to Jesus moment. He actually renounced his former life. And a lot of people, a lot of gangs down there in that area, that church down there where he renounced all his sins, a lot of other gang members did the same thing too. Well, if he can change his life around, I can. So he actually did change his life around. But at the time, I think at the time of his murder, he may have been on drugs and he was passing a counterfeit bill. But, he probably bought some drugs from somebody and they probably gave him change that was counterfeit. He might not have even known that it was counterfeit, but he didn't deserve to die. But then again, there's it's Tony Timba in 2016 died the exact same way. It's on tape. And one of the cops was African American, and they all stood there in a circle. There was about 4 of them, and watched Tony Timba suffocate to death by another cop. It didn't come out in the news until September of 2019. This happened while Obama was in office. It came out in the news September of 2019. The tape came out. Nobody did anything. No marches, no riots, absolutely nothing. And he was white. He was white. So that's where there's something really wrong. Okay, Texas Shepherd, smash the like button. Thank you. Thank you, Texas Shepherd. I always forget to say that myself. Yes, Amy, what you can't defend yourself anymore against because you would get arrested. It's true. Scares me, Gomer, but I will protect me and my family, my job. That's right, Amy, you do it. I will as well, Amy, says Gomer. And the U.S. Marshal badge. Wow. Dems have changed. Nixon was, that's right, Nixon was, so was Elvis was a Republican, by the way. And you wonder why Elvis was a Republican? He came from the South. He came from Jim Crow South, where the KKK ran around. He lived in the colored side of town. He was considered colored. And if you were, if you were Republican, obviously, because they abolished slavery. If you were for, which was a gutsy thing to do, to register as a Republican, because they went after you. The KKK went after you. Like I said, that 1/3 of all those lynched by the KKK, the Democrats, were white Republicans. So it was a gutsy thing for him to register as a Republican, but he couldn't do anything else. He was not going to register as a Democrat, knowing that the Democrat Party is the party of segregation, is the party of the KKK, is the party of slavery. He was not going to do that. Let's see. When will you accept gifts? I don't know if you're asking me or if you're asking Gomer. Gomer, no matter his past, he didn't deserve to be killed like that. Right. No, it doesn't, just like anything we do wrong, when we confess it to God and we say we're going to turn a new leaf, we turn a new, you know what I mean? Our sins are supposed to be forgotten. And if we turn a new leaf, we turn a new leaf. That's a whole different thing than what these protests, these rioters are doing, because they're not turning any new leaf, they're destroying everything. Oh my God, you are still alive. Wow, made it. Hi, Ian. Okay, undocumented. This is an awesome discussion, but it is 1 a.m. here in NW, Northwest Arkansas. So I have to go to bed. Thank you, Felina. Keep talking. You motivate me. All right. All right. Thank you very much. I will. So you can watch the rest of it. I'm going to end it soon because I recorded a video tonight that is supposed to go into all this in detail, some other stuff. So if you want to watch that and watch the rest of this, I'll only be on for a few more minutes. I'm Joyce, GNU Lib. Okay, everybody, thank you for joining me. It's very hot here. It's 2:09 in the morning. Wow, I talked, didn't I? See, the thing is, when I do, I have to record because on BitChute, I can't get these live streams stay on YouTube, and they don't go to BitChute. So no, it doesn't matter how important it is. I'm going to have to get, this is a Chromebook. It doesn't download. I can't download anything on it. So I can't download it and put it onto BitChute, which I wish I could. That would make things a lot easier for me because I'd be done, it would already be there. So I do have another video that I recorded earlier that's got different stuff in it if you want to watch that, and that will definitely go on BitChute. So anyway, thank you for joining me. And since it was a lot of things happened in the news, it was very important. And I wanted to get the message out to everyone to stay strong. Don't try, do, just be. That's it. We got to stay strong. Got to stay strong no matter what happens. And we can do it. We will do it. Because like I said, the majority of us want a country that is not crime-ridden. The majority of us don't want to. Remember that movie? Anybody remember that movie? It's called Escape from New York, when they wall New York off and it's a prison. I think it came out in the late 70s. And so the inmates, that's what New York is now. And this, the entire country is going to be like that. So we don't want to live like that. Most of us don't want to live like this. And people are fleeing New York like tent caterpillars. You ever see tent caterpillars? You cut off the branch and then you throw gasoline on it and set it on fire, and all the tent caterpillars kind of run out. That's kind of like in communist Russia, the way people try to, what do you say, whether you're in Russia, defect. When they defect, because Russians hated communism so much that they were defecting. It's just like tent caterpillars when the tent is on fire, and that's what's happening in New York City. Anyway, thank you very much, Gomer Kyle. GN Gomer and Ian. That's right. Good night, everybody. Let's see. Kurt Russell is awesome in that movie. That's right. And he also played Elvis. That's right. Hey. Oh my god, thank you, Gomer. That's right. I can't believe anybody remembers that movie. Let's see. 82 was Escape. Oh, it came out in 1982? I knew it was a while ago. Amy Joyce, hope you didn't misunderstand. Well, if you're talking to me, I didn't misunderstand. I don't think so. You know, it's a shame. I try to read all these things that you guys write because um well, not just because I want to read them. They should be read. But YouTube has this new system where it erases the live chats, so you can't have a chat replay. So it's really important. I know it's really important for me to read them and who said what. That way it's documented, everything you guys say, because I know it's important when you're writing it, you want people to read it. I meant they don't recognize Floyd for his sins, and we don't recognize our forefathers for theirs. That's right. Like with Floyd, we celebrate the good they did. Absolutely right. That's absolutely right. But see, there's no forgiveness. One side, they can forgive the sins of whoever they want to, and then the other side is just inherently evil. You know, there's nothing you can do. There is no forgiveness. You are just inherently evil till the day you die. Gomer says, that's brilliant, Amy, really. See that? Okay, there you go. So read it, and then that's immortalized on the live stream. When people see it again, they'll know what you guys wrote. Okay, good night, everyone. Stay strong, and I'll live stream as soon as I can, possibly tomorrow. I bet there's going to be a lot of news going on tomorrow. But anyway, see, I just didn't want peeps to think I thought he deserved. Nobody thinks that. Everybody gets what you said, Amy. Absolutely not. That's right. That's right. People, there's hypocrisy going on. Is one side is very hypocritical, extremely, and violent. But you always have good intentions, Amy. Always. You're very wise all the time. That's right. Even Gomer saying, no, you're okay, Amy. Okay, everyone. Good night, everyone, or good morning, everyone. It's 2:15 at the moment. I'm going to hop in the shower. It's hot as hell here. Okay, everyone. God bless you and stay strong. And I'll be back soon. Bye-bye.